You might think that your life is determined by talent, luck, or the environment you were born into. But let me tell you something that may shock you. Talent without discipline is nothing more than an unfulfilled promise, and luck without action is just wind. I have seen brilliant men fail, and I have seen ordinary people become extraordinary. Want proof? I personally witnessed Henry Ford being called crazy, and Thomas Edison failing more than 1,000 times. So I ask you, what is more valuable, a big dream or the discipline to sustain it when everyone laughs at you? When I say that discipline is the bridge between dream and action, it is not a cheap metaphor. It is the result of years of observation, study, and encounters with men and women who turned ideas into empires. I wrote that discipline is the silent energy that pushes you forward when willpower fades. This phrase is not decoration, it is a diagnosis. I remember clearly, not as folklore, but as personal experience, a young, brilliant man I met during my investigations, his head full of plans, fiery speeches about the future, notebooks full of sketches, and yet no trace of execution. He had better arguments than many, evident talent, and yet, years later, I found him trapped in the same frustrations. This scene repeated itself so often that it was no longer a coincidence to me. Ideas without discipline turn into regret. Why does this happen? Because forming a habit requires deliberate repetition, and modern science confirms it. Forming an automatic behavior takes time. In a study that tracked people who introduced small daily actions, the median time for the behavior to become automatic was about 66 days. Some took much longer. In other words, discipline is not the result of a single effort. It is the fruit of patient, planned repetition. And the roots of discipline lie in self-control. Longitudinal studies show that self-control in childhood predicts health, financial status, and emotional stability in adulthood. It's not just philosophy, it's an observable gradient of results over decades. People with greater self-control tend to build routines, save, study, and resist the temptation of shortcuts that ruin projects. Another classic study demonstrated that high levels of self-control are associated with better grades, more stable relationships, and fewer behavioral problems. In other words, the discipline you train now yields behavioral dividends that accumulate over time. This explains why raw talent, without disciplined practice, falls short of those who persist step by step. You might be thinking, but I don't have time. I have family, work, bills. How do I fit discipline into my day? This is the most common and legitimate objection. First point, discipline does not require a daily epic. It requires minimal consistency. Instead of promising, I will study 4 hours a day, and failing, schedule 20 to 30 minutes daily, every day, and treat it as a non-negotiable commitment in your calendar. In small steps, define one simple action, read for 20 minutes, save a small amount, work focus for 25 minutes, reduce friction, turn off your phone, keep a notebook nearby, and follow through. Repetition creates habit. Habit creates autonomy. Your fears about money. I don't know how to save. I always spend too much. I was born without a financial safety net. Are real and affect your well-being. Studies show that financial worries increase anxiety and impair decision-making. When fear dominates, mental energy is drained into immediate survival, and long-term plans die in procrastination. That is why practical discipline should include small, routine financial actions, automatic transfers to savings on payday, a simple budget with clear categories, and weekly tracking. Repeating these actions reduces anxiety and puts you in control. As I have always observed, those who succeed are not necessarily the most talented. They are the ones who persist when inspiration fades. So, step by step, practical application. How to implement it today, this week. First, write one clear goal, not be rich, but have a certain amount in euros saved within 12 months. not be more cultured, but read for 20 minutes a day on a specific topic. Clarity makes discipline possible. Second, break it into micro habits, 20 to 30 minutes daily, 3 25-minute Pomodoro sessions. Save 3 to 5% of your salary monthly via automatic transfer. Publish 1 video per week if you are a content creator. Small goals overcome inertia. Third, shape your environment. Put money out of reach. Automatic transfer. Leave your phone in another room during work blocks. Keep materials ready. Book, notebook. Your environment works in your favor. Fourth, use tracking and accountability. A simple notebook with done/not done at the end of the day, and tell 3 people you started the commitment. Social pressure and tracking multiply adherence. And note, grand promises create guilt when broken. Micro commitments create confidence when honored. Each small commitment kept strengthens willpower. This is how discipline builds practical self-esteem and momentum. You may fear that starting late is a barrier. This is fear disguised as logic. Historical examples and the stories I studied show it is not age, but persistence. Disciplined, continuous learning allows anyone to catch up and build advantage. The first step doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be repeated. Now a concrete application most people can use. Choose a 3-month goal, 90 days, and set a daily routine of 20 to 30 minutes. At the end of each week, review progress for 15 minutes. What worked, what didn't. This creates real data about your behavior and allows adjustments. Remember, studies show that forming a habit is not instant. Plan at least 66 days for the action to begin to automate, and don't be fooled by weekly miracles. Start now. Start small, stay consistent, and make adjustments. If you fear failure because you have tried and given up many times, know that human history is full of fresh starts. My own observation is simple. Those who use every failure as data, not as a verdict, and return to disciplined work are the ones who succeed. It is neither charisma nor luck. It is commitment to the process. Statistics on resolutions and changes show that many people fall back within the first few weeks. That is why planning for repetition is the secret weapon. To conclude this section with me, choose now one action you will do tomorrow for 20 to 30 minutes, without exception. Mark in your notebook. Day 1, complete. Repeat. When motivation fades, remember, discipline is the bridge between what you envision and what you accomplish. Building this bridge takes time, and the best time to start is today. If you wish, I have already prepared a practical challenge, 30 to 66 days, for you to feel the transformation by the end of this month. Do you want me to write the detailed instructions and a daily tracking template now? Once, I nearly lost everything I thought I had achieved: property, money that seemed solid, the comfort of a routine I thought was invulnerable. When the great crisis struck and certainties crumbled, I felt shame, anger, and that sinking feeling of seeing the ground crack beneath my feet. I cried, yes, but I also made a decision that changed the rest of my life. I did not allow that setback to define me. Instead, I treated every pain as an instructional document. What exactly went wrong? Which decision lost the thread? Which routines betrayed me? From this arose the discipline that rebuilt me, brick by brick, a practical discipline of minimal habits, repeated until they became strength. If you have ever been at rock bottom, you know the feeling. Fear tightens the throat and clouds the mind. It is not just a feeling. There is science behind it. Financial pressure consumes cognitive capacity. Worries about money occupy mental resources that were previously used to solve problems and plan solutions. In other words, the more anxious you are about money, the worse you think. Studies have shown that poverty and financial worry increase cognitive load and reduce performance on complex tasks. That is why, in the heat of a crisis, hasty decisions, selling the wrong asset, taking the immediate solution that destroys the future, are common and predictable. Moreover, research on financial stress shows that money is repeatedly the greatest source of anxiety for most people. The pressure undermines sleep, relationships, and clarity of judgment. It is not shameful. It is a human mechanism that needs to be understood in order to navigate around it. When the mind is preoccupied with, "How will I pay?" it abandons creativity and persistence. Discipline, applied methodically, acts as a tool that frees mental space by reducing trivial decisions. How do you apply discipline in the eye of the storm? First, stop the bleeding. Immediately list your fixed and variable expenses. Cancel what is unnecessary. Negotiate deadlines with creditors. Surprisingly, many offer options when asked. Do as I did. Replace reactive attitudes with small protective routines. Set up minimal automatic transfers, even $10 per week, to create the habit of saving. Automate what you can, thus removing daily decisions and preserving your energy for the real problems. In a crisis, reducing decision load is strategic discipline. Second, rebuild in short cycles. Establish a plan of 30 to 90 days with clear and measurable goals, e.g., reduce expenses by 15% in 30 days. Learn a marketable skill 20 minutes a day for 90 days. Secure X interviews in 30 days. Break each goal into daily microtasks that are easy to accomplish. 20 to 30 minutes of focused work daily moves mountains when repeated. Repetition turns anxiety into routine, and routine into confidence. Ask yourself, what simple action can I guarantee today, even if I am tired? Completed? Mark. Done. Repeat. Third, protect your mind with ritual. Start the day with 5 minutes of breathing. Write down one essential task. Read a page about something useful. These short rituals create a barrier against panic. In my experience, discipline is not just external control. It is an inner stronghold that prevents impulsive decisions. When emotions flare, return to the ritual, breathe, write down the options, choose the most conservative, and take the smallest necessary action, a step you can take right now. Fourth, use real examples to remind yourself of the power of consistency. Think of Abraham Lincoln, electoral defeats, bankruptcies, relentless criticism, and yet he made persistence and continuous learning his tools to rise. He turned failures into lessons and ultimately led a nation in its most difficult hour. If Lincoln could, why not you? Fifth, avoid predictable mistakes by observing those who failed. We have seen celebrities and public figures endure severe consequences due to a lack of financial boundaries. People who earned fortunes and lost everything due to excessive spending or failing to adjust their routines when the world changed. A well-known example is MC Hammer, who, despite earning millions, ended up filing for bankruptcy in the 1990s due to expenses and structures he could not sustain. A brutal reminder that income without discipline is a trap. Learn from this. Adjust your lifestyle to the new reality before reality adjusts you. Now, I will be practical, as if I were standing next to you, listing checks you can do today with discipline. Immediate action. 72 hours record all income and expenses. Cancel non-essential automatic payments. Make 3 calls. Negotiate with major creditors for an extension or installment plan. Eliminate 2 unnecessary recurring expenses. Daily routine. 30 to 90 days, 20 to 30 minutes per day for learning or professional prospecting. 10 minutes each evening to review your financial flow. A 90-minute block, 3 times per week, for deep work on generating new income. Mental ritual, morning. 5 minutes of breathing plus 1 priority for the day. Evening, 5 minutes of journaling. What happened? What I corrected, what I learned. Financial rebuild. 90 days build a mini emergency fund equivalent to 1 to 2 weeks of expenses, even with small contributions, and gradually expand it to 1 month. Automate this savings. Accountability. Share your plan with a trusted person. Weekly accountability call. Discipline flourishes when there are witnesses who matter. If you are tempted to quit because you tried before and failed, remember, discipline works like a muscle. It requires training, patience, and adjustments. Studies show that the simple practice of small daily habits gradually frees mental resources and reduces the likelihood of impulsive decisions under pressure. Do not wait to be inspired. Build the habit, and inspiration will appear once the action is already part of you. Finally, I propose a challenge, not as a game, but as a tool. For 30 days, commit to 3 non-negotiable rules. First, 20 minutes of focused daily action, research, study, income creation. Second, a daily financial record, what came in, what went out, mental balance on decisions. Third, a 15-minute weekly conversation with a responsible person for accountability. If you follow these rules for 30 days, you will not only reduce immediate financial chaos, but also train the discipline that turns setbacks into springboards. I myself rebuild with such routines, and I can guarantee the storm remains tough, but you are not the same person after the first month. When the dust settles, what remains is not only what you have materially rebuilt, but the certainty that discipline has become your ally. Fear no longer dictates your choices, and you begin to command your life. Ask yourself now, what will be your first small action today, even if everything seems against you? Do it. Repeat it tomorrow. And persist, because discipline is this: returning to building day after day until achievement is born. When I say that passion plus discipline generates excellence, it is not a romantic speech. It is the practical observation of a lifetime dedicated to understanding how ordinary people become extraordinary. There is a deep difference between trying out of obligation and living out of devotion. When discipline is born from passion, effort loses its weight and gains rhythm. I clearly remember a composer who, even in the silence imposed by the loss of hearing, produced his most sublime works. Beethoven is living proof that passion transforms resistance into creation. This story is not just poetry, it is a map. You ask me, but what if I can't live for my passion? This is the most common and legitimate objection. Ask yourself first, what would you do even without applause? What would you do even without payment? The answer often hides the clue to true passion. Now I answer clearly. Passion is not immediately synonymous with income. It is the fuel that allows you to apply discipline day after day until the market recognizes and pays for your value. Research on perseverance and passion for long-term goals, what is commonly called grit today, shows that this combination explains a consistent part of success beyond mere talent. It is not magic. It is repetition guided by purpose. But not all passion is healthy or productive. Science distinguishes between harmonious passion, one that integrates your life and nurtures your identity, and obsessive passion, which erodes balance and well-being. Therefore, it is not enough to simply love something. Your passion must be sustainable, allowing you to breathe, learn, and adapt. That pleasure that turns into a prison is not victory. It is a trap. Observe this honestly. Does your passion strengthen your life or consume it? The answer guides whether the discipline you build will be light and lasting, or heavy and self-destructive. Let me share a practical and personal truth that filled me with joy and proved the transformative effect of disciplined passion. When I embarked on the mission to understand the secret of success, I did not do it out of vanity. I was seized by burning curiosity. I spent years interviewing and studying hundreds of successful men and women. It was fieldwork, notebook in hand, long mornings and short nights. There was no constant glamour, only an insistent inner drive that made me return to the craft every day. This discipline, waking early, interviewing, transcribing, reflecting, was born from the passion to discover universal laws of success. The pleasure of learning made the sacrifice light, and that compendium of accumulated practices and habits became the ideas I later shared. The feeling was of profound joy and purpose. Proof that passion aligned with discipline produces not only results, but meaning. How to apply this today in a specific and practical way. First, find the intersection between what you love and what the market values, the point where your passion can be tested. Do not wait for the perfect opportunity. Test quickly, cheaply, and with discipline. If you like writing, commit to 500 words a day and publish a sample weekly. If you like music, compose 10 minutes a day and record a short piece weekly. If your passion is teaching, create 5-minute micro lessons and publish consistently. Discipline here is clear. Minimal daily routine plus regular public delivery equals exponential learning and real feedback. Second, establish a short-term plan with measurable goals. For example, 90 days goal. 3 tested products or services plus 1. Bizoniatot jubdalam foras. Osfel es napi huz. Harming purses. Nim al-kadado microtevakineseker. Es hatante jisser. Visarnapunkant harming purses ada kinto ida sakokra. Easy as sinvidlit project alakidja. Es megsanteti az illusiat. Hoggy saka nagi tet. Samit. Asokasak kiala kalasa hanapokeg tardo foliamat. A katatasak serit az uj vizelkids automatizladesa atlagos and quarrel belul hadvankalink napalat stabilizalatic. Tehat turbez uggy. Hagia kezdeti lukasedasin tulis kit arts. Harmatsor, that az energedat egisru sabliakal. Zavero tenias octal mentes munkablakik. A koza seji mediara vana kozo hatarak. Regularly ritualek. Amliek kozlev visnek a leg fonto sab feladated has. A sinvidli nem sunteti meg a modser suxagesigit. Vintar tasahos modservin suxeg. Es imlikes. A figilam nem supit a korai abridis gelenti. Hanum azt is. Hagi nem hagid ki azakat a lepasikit. Amliek felipitic. Sandikos giacorlas. Criticus adakintis. Advonal modicitesa. A suxages. Nijidzer, monetizal jokosin. Kezij kiksi, eladhado a janla takal, online workshop, ravitanik sadas. Licenseld zinii mu, econev. Hassel the Fijiomet aziel kodashas, a peacock pedig a validalashas. Na ad oda mind and Indian korlatlan idig, alakits to kiss hasso sagat pinzujir tech. Es fectus visa ebel a bevitel ball a munkad javadasaba. Hasa tave on a rensirs. Kiss transaxiok asa sej stabilitas terrent. Es itt valhut a sinvidli fintarthedo zokmava. Ototzer, gondaskaj az zelmi joltadrol. A pens javidja az alet artikli set. De nem old mag minden napi erzelmet. A katadasok azt mutajak. Hagia magasab jubdalam novely az alet altalanos artikli set. De mindanapi boldug sagra giacarold hatasa corlatasat. Easy azt gelenti. Hagia sinvidli kovatis hot sajarl and napier zelmi miosegas. Amit asamak amagakban nem garantalnak. Tehak kares olian munkit. Amli taplalja a napi tapastalitated. Nim saka bank samladat. Most egi giacarlado javaslok. Amalia sinvidlit fegialem alakidja. Harink napon karestal kesits minden nap valami a prata sinvedalites capsulodoin. Egi mandatot. Egi vaslatot. Egi wresteltet. Egi ravid hanganyagit. Hatante legalab haramser tegial cause valamit. Alathatosag visagelsis es lahido seget terrent. Tarts ravid felgigizist. El toltot edo. Kapat reactio. Tanalt lekeg. A harming nap vegin vis fellow. Es valis ki egi atlatet. Ameliet a kovek kizo had vin nap and bovitesh. Ha e killen vin napalat figilmet voltal. Velodi lepasikid tetel a shinvidelabal a jubdalam feel. Es ami meg fontasab. Bizalmet epitetal. Had his medaljum hadarazathan. A sinvidli figilam nelkal jawerson eleg. A figilam sinvidli nelkal electalan aerofasites. Ha eg cited a kedot, ridmust, Oramat es eller halidas caps. Tahat Austinton Kurtism, Mimas Gaja most alelkadet? Million apro selecbes tuds Mongarantalni huz, harming persig, meg ha azanalia redminute nim is lats. Ted meg, es turge visa holnap, hoggy udra ted. A kibalosag solitic, ahol aziodatas to laukazika so castle. Amicra selecvo fegia lemel capsulabin basilek, azokra a kiss ismatel danta seeker gondolok, amliek idavel oleasmit epidnek, ami tulli tegged, hatast, befoliast, navet, amid masak tistolital imlekesnek. As kozelral latum. Vilagos and imlexem ara and napra, Amicur Andrew Carnegie feladata bizit ram, nim sive second, hanum felalo second, tanel mini osni, rogzatini es kavania kozos elkit azak bal az and barekbul, a kick nagi vagiant epitetek es maridando niamont hagitak. Abit a piladat bit arrestum egi kaldith suliet, amli megalata a scene lies ambishamat, rajatum, hoggy ez nem supin munka les, hanum mu. Alphagatum, es elkastem a figilum foliamitat, amelia cavanksisagot oroxeg alicatata. Minden in turju, minden jejazet, minden is metals a jaikar lab a Carnegie altal kivant orixeg teglage of volt. Es and acrid lanel is es epitetum megamban. Easy a tapistolet egi jisaru, de kimini igazavra tanatot. Az orixeg nem egi nagi tetbol sulitic, hanum apro, kavik kazit selakita tekbol, ameliek ejamas or rakidnek. Talon AZT gondolad, Az orixeg emilio mosok vagia havilamo rendel kazak dalga. Had Ellen Kezik, Az orixeg a tius metel velastisate osasej. Kurtas meg magatol, million imlikit a karsh haganai holnap? Kinek a karsh peldikep lini? Ezek a kurtasek kiz dantaseket formalnek. Hova zanat Az idadet, kit tanatas, million make a karatast inditas ma, hoggy velamid biztisits holnep. A figilum evan Az erdelimben Az imlikizes epitesit. Nim sac a kasik feltultisir salgul. A gelimet formalja, generatiacat befolia sol, es Az aero farasacat hotsagera lasa alakitja. Es amicra as selakita tek kobikizates valnak. Masak is elkezdik oket utanazni. Diakok, gyrkek, partnerek, es Az effectus megsoxorizotic. A fellow made gyakran sudonak, hoggy ninks edo, tehetseg vagi pins ura. And maga is halatum hasanlo hangakat, amicur kestum. Da gyakor lati igazag. A minimalis kovatelmani mendiga figilum, nem a tokelteseg. Kes azul, hoggy a napi idat egi sizalikat masak javara fortitad, egi ravitanitas, gyakor lati tanks, kis project, ameli peldikant salgul. Ha Az egi zazalek sokasa valik, Az egi zazalek identitas valik. As latum a katatasum sorin, azak Az imberek, a kignapi perskit sinteltek a hotsagera lasnek, tana tasnak vagi Az aerophorosok servaziznek, tardos befolias red tedek cert. Es a tardos befolias oroxeg valik. Nezunk concret es marido alcalmazasiket. Mert oroxagrol beselni giacorlati lepasek nelkel yurs soxepels. Penzagileg, automatizal ggykis sazalakot a jugglemebel oroxegalapa, ha sukos, kes egi, harem sazalekel, stabilitas esitin noveled. Ez nem supin symbolicus adomini. Az ag trining. Az aledidet ugi conditionalod, hoggy Az alandasagot helias a loader but cosvetlin fogiastas helia. Tarsadalmalag. Haz letra habi minteralesi rutin, havanta egi ora, hoggy a tutas tavavadogen. Documentalas. Rogzits havanta tis persit egi tenulsig elmiselisir. Oteb mulva Ez egi archivum les. Ameliat a saladod es tanit vanunit is felhasnalhadnek. Selamilag, urge, meg ha sak nehani sort hatante, amiti. Learned. The sum will be a manual that no one can take from your descendants. These actions, when repeated, become tangible legacies. However, it is also necessary to talk about the pitfalls. Many confuse legacy with accumulation. They confuse influence with ostentation. I have seen great fortunes vanish when their owners placed lifestyle above institution. Inheritance without structure and intention becomes a problem for heirs. Therefore, the discipline of legacy includes practical planning, a clear will, family meetings about values, financial education for your successors, and a governance plan for any assets you wish to preserve. Without this, what you build today may be squandered tomorrow due to lack of rules and preparation. Discipline also entails responsibility toward those who come after you. There is also a moral aspect to the discipline of legacy. Your influence should enhance well-being, not just wealth. Mother Teresa and service-oriented leaders have shown that discipline applied to love creates transformations that span generations. Consistently giving your time is often more transformative than a large, unconnected check. Contemporary psychology reminds us that life satisfaction and a sense of meaning are closely tied to acts of giving and contributing. Therefore, the discipline of legacy is not a luxury. It is an investment in collective well-being. I want to give you a practical roadmap with steps you can start today that translate discipline into legacy. First, define your legacy statement in one sentence. I want to be remembered for .. .. Write it down and place it somewhere visible. This guides your choices. Second, choose 3 non-negotiable actions. First, 20 minutes weekly for mentoring or teaching. Second, 1% of your income to a legacy fund. Third, record 10 minutes per month in video or text about a lesson learned. Third, establish a quarterly meeting to review progress. Meet with yourself or 2 trusted partners and evaluate what has grown, what has stagnated, what needs to change. Fourth, formalize continuity. Prepare basic documents, will, legacy instructions, essential contacts, and passwords, so that what you build is not lost through oversight. Fifth, teach at least one person to do what you do. The true proof of legacy is when knowledge replicates without you. Each item is small individually, but executed with discipline, it creates an infrastructure of impact that transcends years. These actions also provide protection. Automating savings and formalizing instructions prevents temporary crises from ending work that took decades to build. Let me tell a personal case, not to boast, but to illustrate the process. A few years after completing my research, I returned to a small community where I had introduced a reading program for youth. It was nothing grand. Weekly half-hour sessions, mentoring by local retirees, a small fund to buy books. There were no promises of wealth. There was discipline, scheduled meetings, committed volunteers, accountability. 5 years later, one of those youths became a teacher and returned to the same community to lead and expand the program. I was moved to tears when I saw the community library full of children. That small disciplined routine had created a living legacy, not written in money, but in transformed lives. The emotion I felt that day was a mix of humility and joy, pride in seeing a simple idea become a structure that supports others. This is the less ostentatious and more enduring reward of discipline applied to legacy. And now a concrete challenge for you. For 90 days, build a legacy book, a folder, digital or physical, where you record daily in 10 minutes, a lesson, an act of contribution, a long-term financial decision, and the name of a person you helped. At the end of each month, choose one action to expand: more automatic donations, more mentoring hours, more recorded content. After 90 days, you will have a record that demonstrates your consistency, tangible proof that you are building something that can survive cycles of misfortune and money. Moreover, ask a respected person to read the book and give feedback. External accountability turns good intention into lasting discipline. I conclude with this observation, seen in many biographies. The true measure of a person is not what they accumulate while alive, but what they continue to do for others when they are no longer present. Discipline yourself not just to achieve, but to build. Discipline yourself to be remembered not for luxury, but for service. Discipline yourself to teach what you have learned. The world needs people who turn success into legacy, and that transformation begins with the discipline of small actions today. And you, what will you do now so that in 20 years someone can say, they left something worthwhile? Make your first entry in the legacy book. Start now. If there is one truth that runs through all the stories, examples, and lessons I have shared here, it is this: discipline is the silent link between what you dream and what you actually live. It does not matter how big your vision is or how many falls you have faced. It is discipline that turns ideas into achievements and obstacles into steps. I deeply thank you for walking with me this far. And now, as the next video appears on your screen, it will elevate your understanding even further, helping you climb another step in wisdom and become 1% better than you are now. Thank you very much for your attention and dedication. I will be there waiting for you to continue this journey of growth together.